News and tunes at your tempo. Centrum Broadcast Radio.
Good evening, I'm Oliver Sefton. You're listening to Centrum Broadcast Radio, and this is the news at 6 bells. Mixed emotions across the Assembly today as the long-awaited Avalon Expedition finally embarks from its moorings in Cardea Spring. Now en route to the mysterious region known by cartographers as CDC 41 Gamma, the expedition fleet employed a prototype drift gate to travel over 3,000 light-years in a matter of minutes, and is now far beyond the reach of any detection or communication system. Following the last-minute retirement of acclaimed astrophysicist Dr. Sadavar Edric, the position of expedition director has fallen to Edric's adopted daughter and colleague, Dr. Elizabeth Ansley. Having worked closely with her father in the development of the Avalon project from its first inception, Director Ansley was quickly approved by the project's International Selection Committee, but she remains a relative unknown to the public, and such drastic changes to the project's command structure so soon before departure have been seen as vindicating by many of the expedition's detractors. In order to supply its many personnel for the duration of the expedition, the Avalon fleet carries a huge consignment of foodstuffs, fusion fuels, and other critical resources that have been pooled from mandatory donations sourced across the Assembly, Union, and Freehold for the last 4 years. These collections have been met with violent resistance in some of the most deprived regions and have worked to undercut a number of attempted sustainability projects. I'm joined by Professor Letitia Sandrine from the Henshaw Institute for Higher Learning. Letitia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Oliver. I'm glad to be here.
Perhaps you could shed some light on the effects of the expedition's collection programs.
While it's true, these collections have caused no small amount of unrest. I think it's worth reiterating that for a number of seasons now, experts have been in agreement that Tantalus is now past the point of recovery in our resource ecosystem. The many local and national initiatives towards resource growth and sustainability simply won't have time to run their course without some kind of temporary injection of resources to maintain the population while we finish implementing them.
So what exactly is being done then? For years now, the scientific community have been saying that we've passed the point of no return, yet now we're buying time for sustainability projects to fix the issue.
Well, that's because these are two connected but different things. What we were referring to when we would mention the inevitable point of no return was the moment when the cluster's population would grow above its carrying capacity. We've crossed this point around 30 years ago. Now we are dealing with the after effects of that in the form of massive shortages and carrying out damage control as best we can.
Doctor, sorry for interrupting. You mentioned carrying capacity. Do you mind explaining to the folks at home what that is?
Not at all. To put it simply, carrying capacity is a concept in the study of population dynamics. It is the maximum number of individuals that an environment can sustainably support. When speaking of human populations, many different factors go into it, and it is hard to get precise numbers, but a ballpark estimate can be reached.
So, it essentially communicates how many people can exist at one time? If that's the case, how have we managed to climb above it?
Not exactly. It's a subtle difference. It's the maximum sustainable population. There's nothing stopping a population growing above it, but when it does, there will be more individuals than there are resources in the environment to sustain them all, and eventually, the population will see a massive decrease in numbers until it falls below the carrying capacity once again. In the case of our cluster, even though we're seeing shortages in many different sectors, our main bottleneck is food production. The population of Tantalus has grown so large that there is simply not enough arable land currently for us to produce food for everyone. And while it's hard to know for sure, our best estimates are that, so far, 35 million people have already died as a direct result of the famine, with at the very least twice as many dead due to adjacent effects of malnutrition, such as weakened immune systems.
That is a grim state of affairs. Tell us, Doctor, if things keep going unchecked, what kind of scenario could we be looking at?
Considering that many of the worlds in the cluster are reliant on external manufacturing or goods brought in by trade for their continued sustainability, When people start succumbing to the famine in greater numbers, our logistical networks could be compromised by critical workforce shortages. If that happens, we could realistically be facing the collapse of entire worlds.
Entire worlds? Do you think you could give us a number, Doctor?
If such a scenario comes to pass, we could be seeing the deaths of 50 to 80% of the cluster's total population.
That's quite a number.
Yes, which brings us back to the sustainability projects. One of the ways to increase the carrying capacity is via technological intervention, increasing efficiency of crop yields, minimizing waste, optimizing recycling systems and logistic structures. That all allows us to sustain more people, but implementing these measures takes time. Time we had when we started warning Tantalus decades ago, but we'll need to make up for now. And while we are implementing said projects, we need to keep enough of our population alive to avoid the worst-case scenario.
Thank you for your time, Doctor. In spite of its reportedly vital role in putting an end to the ongoing famine, the Avalon Initiative has been met with frequent criticism from all corners of Tantalus, with many feeling they've been left behind by those chosen for the expedition fleet. It's been reported that at least one civilian vessel in the Cardea Sprink system was sighted making an unauthorized run through Edric's Gate as the expedition was performing its transit. The whereabouts of this rogue ship are unknown, but Gate Traffic Control has informed us that its entry vector during transit was such that it could potentially have survived the many thousand light-years trip. We'll return to our segment on the Avalon Expedition following the daily shipping reports, but first, Travis Locke's latest hit, Love Me Once Again.
Thank you for watching. You can get the Sojourn through various distributors, all of which are accessible through www.thesojournaudiodrama.com. You can also get the series through Patreon, where you'll be able to access various bonus features, including our visual dictionary, Guinevere cross-sections, and anthology shorts. Remember to join us on Discord and get regular updates on all upcoming Sojourn releases. All the related links can be found below this video. Fair winds.